So the curb we have here is fine. The shadow caps we've created work well to create that realistic look, and the rounded edges are gonna work perfectly when we visualize. Not gonna have these sharp edges. So far so good. I think it works well. You can drive into the driveway; it's empty, and some of the doors are open to create that effect to make it look like a real environment in a real world. So I want to make sure you get into that type of detail. Make sure when you're working with Lumion, you have the live sync tool already plugged in. So you quickly click on live sync, and then Lumion is going to start opening for you to live sync with your project you're already working on. But always remember, you need to be having a strong enough machine to handle this. Or sometimes, even if you have a strong enough machine, you need to be able to realize if the polygons, the amount of polygons, some of those objects you've downloaded from certain places or you've put in, or the amount of objects you've put in, end up creating so many polygons for the program to continuously calculate as per move you're making or as per change. So you just want to make sure that you be checking how much RAM each of these programs is using, so that you don't strain your machine and you don't get necessarily like a very slow interface or slow output. So now I'm still waiting because I have a number of programs actually open simultaneously here on this machine. I think I'll create a separate video where we're trying to explain different machine specs, so that you don't become too much of a novice on what machine you need. Because even as a technologist, you want to be able to understand the tool you are using fully, in as much as you understand the work you're doing. You want to understand if your computer is able to use which program, and how much you need to upgrade to still be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And even if you have low spec, what can you use to achieve what you achieve? Because for many years I was using a simple dual core Celeron. You can imagine how that can be, but you need to figure out how to really work around that and work with that to get the best possible solutions. Still waiting for Lumion to open, and it should have opened by now, but sometimes I do put the machine in a lot of strain, so it's expected. Finally is opening, so it still has to go to the main interface where I have to pick the environment I want to start modeling my work in again. It's finally open in Lumion. The challenge I currently have is that part of my building is below eye level or below ground. So I want to be able to quickly sort that out, raise the height of my model as it's appeared, make sure it's sort of almost flushing with the ground, the grass flushes with the grass. So I think I'm happy with that. And most important things when you're working in visualization softwares, as someone who wants to quickly sort things out very quickly, is the angle from which you take your shot and the angle at which the sun is illuminating the shot. Those are very important. That's how you can actually either get good visualization with a low-end software, or either just be off with your image in a high-end software. So I'm not using the best in the industry. I'm using the one that produces very quick images, but you need to understand how to set up your sun and how to set up a good angle to have a good shot. So as you can see now, I'm setting up my the angle of the sun. I want to be able, in this one I don't want glare as such, to the glare of direct sunlight to show up. Most of the time I just enjoy doing that, at least in one of the shots, but in this one I wouldn't want that, because really there won't be that at any part of the day, because this is going to be the southern part. But of course in the summer you're going to have the sun striking this from the early morning or the late day towards sunset. So I wanted to depict that. So, and then what I'm having now is I want to be looking at how the shadows interact with the building, how it interacts with the forms, with the textures, with the glazing. Do I get enough glare out to see that it's glazing and to have an interesting look into it? Do I get to see texture? Do I get to have my shadows casting the right way, the angles of the shadow of the casting? Does it work well for me? So you want to be thinking about all those things. And the other important thing is you want to be thinking of where your vegetation is going to be, because vegetation is able to change the mood and character of your image. So I start storing the angles that either I will use, or the areas that will create a good angle for me. And the first thing many of the time I quickly edit when I open up a model is the glass. So the glass for me sort of already communicates a lot of things for me, because it's an opening, it's a fenestration, it's the only thing that's going to be homogeneous in the whole thing. So once I get that right, the other stuff is able to complement that, or the glass itself is able to complement the rest of the things. So when I get the glass right, the color right, the darkness, the hue, the opacity, just want to make sure it's quite fine. And then now I start coming into the other parts, the different materials, in this case the metals. So the first thing normally I deal with, to be quite honest, is the shiny bits, because I don't want to think of them last. I just want to have the right shine at the early stage, and see how the other materials can complement in terms of texturing and color the type of reflection I'm getting from my materials. And now the garage doors, I always wanted, because that's why the garage door is stretching to that floating the feature wall at the end. I always wanted them to have a sort of a timber look. So there was this checkered timber material I knew was is there in Lumion, so I was gonna definitely use that. So there's this very interesting textured concrete surface in Lumion I use a lot. It has so much character into it, and you can manipulate the color to have whatever color you want. So yeah, of course at first appearance it's terrible. Now you make sure you have the colorization correct. Nothing is ever truly total white, so you have a little bit of dark into that, and nothing is ever truly totally black. So always remember those things when you're visualizing. Now I move on to the rest of the materials and start putting texturing and color to them to just get what I want at the end of it all. Working on the driveway, I think trying to find the right type of concrete based surface for the driveway. I think I'm sort of where I would like to be. There's the roughness, and then there's the clear lines where the concrete or the asphalt was worked to be straightened. So there's that realism into it.